It's just a baby.
Why are you talking to your beverage?
Right, Miles?
Absolutely. You gotta do it harder. You can't go standing around for an hour.
Yes, that's right. We are here talking about the Begotten Deep Space Nine at 9. I'm your host, Jeff Mader, joined as always by my brother, Dave Mader. And
good evening.
Kevin and Ashley Millard, our Bajoran resident workers. How are you guys?
Good.
Okay, this is the Papa was a Rolling Stone, but Papa was a pile of goo episode, right?
I suppose
a little bit. Okay, that's how I look at it.
Wait. So what's your premise? Papa was a pile of goo,
and now, yeah, he was, and now he's not. But he finds a new pile of goo and has to raise this pile of goo.
And he spends 45 minutes pouring it.
He does, and sometimes he pours it on a plate, or he'll roll it in a ball, or this. By the way, this is like 46 minutes. This is like one of the longest episodes. Really, there was nothing you could have cut in this episode.
No, they had to keep the montage.
We were saying Jaemeel's not here, and he missed out on the montage.
Yeah. It's gold. Renee Aubergenois acting against goo in a cup.
Yeah. And don't forget about the B plot, Jeff, of Kira giving birth to Kirayoshi.
Oh my god. This stuff was almost as bad. This is one of the worst episodes so far, guys. So for me, like I enjoy Odo and stuff, and but this episode is a low point in season 5 for me.
I'm surprised because I thought, like, you as a new dad, you were going to connect with this episode, and this was all about Odo being a dad.
Oh, I didn't say I didn't connect with it. I definitely connect with it, but that doesn't mean I think it's a good episode of television. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do know what you mean, because I think in a lot of ways, for me, the for some reason the Odo storyline doesn't work on the rewatch as much as it did for me, like, especially the first time.
Right.
Because I guess because this baby changeling, the personality is not really established. It turns into a couple shapes, and then we just did the one part where its face sort of emerges a little bit as it's mimicking, but that's so brief, and it's more about this relationship with Odo and Mora, and like, right. Trying to correct your parents' mistakes. I'm not gonna be like this to this kid, like my dad was to me, or my mom was like to me. So I got to change my ways, and then kind of connecting with Mora on this and saying, like, well, maybe like some of what you did was I kind of needed, even though it's sucked when I was going through it, because it was, and there's kind of that whole thing, like resentful kids against their parents, I guess.
Yeah, and try and be less harsh than my parents were to me, and thinking that because now I'm a parent, now I'm going to do things so much better. And sometimes you realize, oh, it's hard, and it's also kind of like he's kind of like the grandfather of the goo in this episode too. Mora.
There's there's a line, yes.
I think there's a movie there.
There's a movie. Yeah, Kevin and Ashley, like, oh, what do you make of this episode as far as like entertainment value? I think that's kind of the main question here tonight.
I don't know. It's I could totally do without the Kira stuff.
Yeah,
all of it. None of it is good. Shakar is in it. I could do without him.
He's the worst.
I like the sort of journey we go on with Mora and Odo. Yeah, because it's more about them than it is about this new changeling, right? Like,
well, I think this episode is mostly about the idea of parenthood,
right?
And they kind of cover every single kind of iteration. They have the grandfather, they have the new to be father, they have the adopted parents. They have the surrogate parent. They have, they pretty much cover all facets of parented.
But they also leave a
Parenthood.
lot out. Like there's a lot like a wasted potential here because of like Jake and Ben Cisco don't appear really in this episode, or
No.
like, Cisco's a bit in it, but like
Nog and Mom.
that parent relationship's left out. And also Molly is nowhere to be seen during any of this. Like I'm always like, what did they just like park Molly at the babysitter because that wasn't going to relax Kira for this traditional Bajoran birth?
I want to have this baby the traditional Bajoran way.
Fucking annoying is the traditional Bajoran way.
Like yeah, with this Bajoran midwife, you got to wear like the scarf when you come in, and you got to ring a chime. And O'Brien's just like, yeah, we totally support this. Yeah, great.
Yeah, they're like,
Right, Miles?
Absolutely.
we just got to get this baby out of her, and then because this also happens where like Joe Rogan was explaining this like last week, that he knew a gay couple that had a surrogate mother, and then the mother wanted to keep the baby, and that was like the law. That's what the law is, so she got to keep the baby. And this is kind of like what Kira says at the end of this episode. She's like, I never wanted a baby, but now I feel connected to this baby. And it would have been a great plot line if it was just like, no, it's my baby now. And it was like, well, under Federation of Bajoran law, that is the case. And then Kira got to
loses her mind and just fucking steals
the O'Brien's baby, and just to see Keiko's reaction to that.
And then Keiko goes evil, like she's like resentful.
She's like, bring on the paw race. I'm fully in on paw race now.
Yeah.
No, she just blames Miles.
Yeah, it's Miles' fault. Miles.
Hey, we get another. He says 5 more months in this episode instead of 7.
He was saying some months, and you can't go.
You can't go standing around for an hour.
And they were annoyed with Shakar in this episode.
Well, rightfully so. Like, let's talk a little bit about Shakar. He seems like the boyfriend that really has no idea what's going on in his girlfriend's life. Shows up, gets mad at everybody because it's not easy for him to like go take her to dinner and like wine and dine her as the president of Bajor, basically, right? And he's, I don't know, like his character is so blah. Like even like I think they even have fun with it. Like the midwife gives him crap at one point. Like if you're not going to show up on time,
don't show up at all. Like they've left him out of some pretty big episodes where he could have appeared.
And they bring him in for this.
They bring him in for this. So this is it. I think this is the last Shakar appearance.
Well, yeah, I think Kira basically nixed the relationship, and then we move into the Kira Odo stuff.
Not yet. Like that's not until like season 6, 7.
I think it's the seed is being planted that they're done with Shakar, and now we're moving on to the Kira Odo. Will they? Won't they?
But Shakar has not been here for so many big things that's happened to Kira. Like, remember when all her friends were being murdered, Jeff? That was like last week.
That's one.
Like he didn't show up. Yeah, well, that's one. That's 2. And he was in that resistance cell because it was named after him.
Right. You think he'd be an important guy to, even call up and have a scene over Skype?
Yeah, just like, isn't it suck that all our friends are dying? Yeah, sucks.
Right. You would think so.
But because they're supposed to be in a relationship, and they bring him in basically as filler to have like a weird conflict with O'Brien instead. That's his legacy of Shakar.
Yeah, and go ahead.
There's zero reason for him to be there. This is the birth of the O'Brien's baby. She is just the vessel. Like if I were to be a surrogate for another couple, Kevin wouldn't be in the room when the baby was being born. That's their birth.
Well, especially if I was Shakar and I hadn't been around for anything.
Yeah. But where were you in that episode?
He's there trying to run it because, she's my girlfriend, but that's not her baby, that's not your baby, like that's their baby. This is their birth.
But if you're religious, does that change it? Where you have to be there, or is he just being like in his mind the good boyfriend here? Is it more of a religious thing, or it's just the boyfriend thing?
I think the rationale is that because Bajorans don't go into labor like humans do, where we're screaming, I guess, and like trying to push the baby out. Like for Bajorans, it's like I have to be relaxed, so therefore Get Shakar. He relaxes me. He puts me to sleep.
Shakar relaxes no one.
He puts
Yeah.
us all to sleep.
O'Brien's been relaxing her more through the pregnancy than anyone else.
Hey, he's
Right, he
rubbing
knows
those
how-
ankles.
There's
He knows
no
how to
You gotta do it harder.
There's no reason for him to be there for support. It's not like she just sighs and the baby falls out.
Can you just play that one again, Dave?
You got to do it harder.
Yeah.
You gotta do it harder.
You got to keep that one at the top of your list.
Yeah,
Dave.
that one's
I
gotta go at the
know.
top. And the one from yesterday.
Harder
too.
it is.
Do you have Marty from last night? Can you play that one for them? I know.
The big. They won't have any idea what it is. But
no,
yes.
but it was funny.
Get back at them!
We had Big Brother Canada last night. Like this French Acadian guy, like he's from New Brunswick, right? So he's just like, I hate them. We are going to get them.
I have enough of this. The only reason why I stayed in here to get back at them.
It's how I feel about your car.
He's almost like Cisco, like, get back at them. You betrayed your uniform.
Yeah, he's very over the top. He's kind of Picard. He's got the French Picard.
Yeah, when Picard,
You know, joie de vivre.
this far, no further, this harder.
You gotta do it harder.
Right.
You got to do it harder. Love it. O'Brien's the only part of this episode I like. He's really the only character I enjoy following throughout.
He's
the
annoyed to be there too. He's annoyed.
Yeah,
He has to be part of this.
I think that's why I connect with him, because it's like he's the dad having to go through this, but at the same time he's got like the boyfriend of the surrogate mother showing up, and then he's having to like help out the surrogate mother so much, but it's on Keiko. But that must be weird.
But Keiko's there
You know.
just smacking him every minute, going, Miles.
Right. It's literally worst case scenario.
You think
You know,
he would be like, okay, Miles, you take care of Molly, right? And Keiko can play the chime. But no, it doesn't work. It doesn't get
No, he wanted to be there because he missed the birth of Molly, so he wanted to
Right.
see the birth
That's
of
true.
this.
That's yeah. I guess there was a good explanation there.
I couldn't imagine all that noise being relaxing.
No,
What just the chime?
The chime and the maraca
Yeah.
things and whatever. Like, no. Fucking Bajorans.
Bajorans, they're so boring. They gotta be so freaking boring. Everything, even pregnancy's boring. Giving birth's boring for them.
Yeah,
not like humans. We're exciting.
I think Worf should have delivered the baby. They should have brought that full circle.
That would
have been a better pitch in the writers' room.
He's barely
I think.
in this episode.
Or he just
Why
walked
are you
into the
talking to your
room.
beverage?
She's in labor. I'm leaving the station. Goes
Or
to
like-
Worf.
Or like he walks in and he faints or something, or like just something funny would have been funny in this episode.
He walks in and he's just like, "You may now give birth."
I do not smirk, but if I did, this would be a good opportunity.
Oh, we lost him.
That's
Oh,
good.
lost Jeff.
Well, on that note, let's see if he comes back. I have a topic I wanted. Oh, there he is.
Is it uniform?
Hit the button by
No, it's not. But well, kind of. It's Jason.
it's still changing Bashir, everybody.
It
Okay,
is-
that's what I wanted to talk about. A good segue. Okay, because Changeling Bashir and the fact that this is about this baby changeling, right?
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of knowing this in retrospect. This is like what this rewatch podcast is about, Jeff. Like,
Yeah.
we should be saying, like, why doesn't he intervene more, or does he? Is he?
He might already know that it's doomed,
maybe.
Yeah.
or maybe he's the one who kills it.
He can't, but also he can't give himself away.
I know, because he's there to kill them all in a few weeks. That's his plan, right? To blow
Right.
up the Bajoran sun.
Yeah.
But
So-
a changeling would care more about the fellow changeling than his mission. I would.
Yes.
A changeling can't kill another changeling, but apparently a changeling can just let one die.
Well, that,
Maybe there was nothing
It's possible.
that could be done.
I know. It's just kind of like watching this back. I can't help but speculate about it, right?
Yeah.
And go, well, what is this Bashir changeling thinking, at least, right? We'll never know. But is he just got his eye on the mission? I gotta just can't blow my cover. I gotta perform 4 surgeries this afternoon and give birth or help deliver babies and whatever else he does as a doctor and playing darts, because he's fully submerged in the part. He's very method as the changeling Bashir. And and the fact that even with Odo getting his powers back, or his shapeshifter abilities as changeling abilities by the end of this episode, you would imagine that has an emotional impact on changeling Bashir, right? Because the entire Great Link voted to turn him into a solid, and that he kind of escaped justice. But then when like the female changeling shows up, eventually she's like, "Yeah, we're cool with it. Like if you can get your powers back on your own, that's changeling justice. It's fine." Anyway, my rant's over.
Okay. I think it's interesting that like there's not more hints. I don't see a lot of hints to the fact that he's a changeling in this episode, but they could have done more. They could have made him more involved with the Mora aspect, maybe.
Right, because there's the whole scene at the end where like the baby changeling's dying, and he's like, it's him and Mora. It's changeling Bashir and Mora who are got to do it all. And by the way, they mentioned that Dr. Mora had been on Earth. That's where Oda's like, I'm not going to call him. He's not even on Bajor. He's on Earth. He's helping Starfleet figure out where the changeling infiltrators are. And he's got one right under his nose in Changeling Bashir. Plus Odo, the space's greatest detective, an expert on changelings. Neither of them could find this. This Changeling Bashir's right in front of them, Jeff. And they're brutal.
In many episodes. Yes. They are brutal. Why is he so able to evade detection? Because he's on...
I feel like O'Brien is the one to blame here. He's the one that should know that it's not Bashir.
Right.
Yeah. Doesn't Bashir...
Odo should know.
Real Bashir gets mad at him.
Each other?
I don't think...
Real Bashir gets mad at Bashir.
Yeah, at O'Brien.
Right.
He gives him kind of hell. He's like, you didn't know it wasn't me? He was like, oh, I guess not. And it was like, and he's like, geez, I guess we're not really friends. Like, which he is a lot less... Bashir is a lot less like playful, for sure. In a lot of these episodes, he's very serious, and he's I guess that's the clue.
We haven't seen a lot of him and O'Brien hanging out either, which we did a lot of before this and after this, right?
Right. Because there's so much going on in this season.
O'Brien's busy with a new baby. He's not going to notice that his friend is different. He's tired. He has a newborn.
And 2 wives.
Exactly.
Right. He's got twice the amount of ankles to rub.
Do it harder. You gotta do it harder. I have so many O'Brien clips now. It's like insane. I gotta like make like a short list or something.
Right.
You gotta do it harder.
Gotta. Okay, so I guess we talk a little bit more about the Oda Mora of it all in this episode. I guess Mora's basically the guy that rose, Odo to be like a pile of goo to a real changeling, and we get all these moments throughout this episode where he's like, "Oh, I smiled when you first did that. Little did I know you'd come to hate me for it," or whatever, and like those kind of lines, which you're right, Dave, allude to all the my parents are hard on me, and and all those kind of things, and
Yeah, like I think like I was to your earlier point where like you're like it's not it on paper this should be better, and I think like the performances, they're like all the actors are really trying to bring it. Rene Auberjonois I think really is giving it his all, and like I think that the writing is decent enough in terms of the drama they're trying to tell here. It's juxtaposed by this kind of off-tempo thing with like what's going on with Kira and Shakar and O'Brien, because it's a completely different vibe in those scenes, right? And then you come back to this thing and it's like this real dedicated drama about family and parenthood and what to do with kids, and then there's this whole death, but then it's like the entire thing shifts at the end, and then it's like, well, yeah, the baby died, but the silver lining is Odo's a changeling again. And for some reason it doesn't work as well for me as it should. Like I was saying, like it's kind of diminished. I don't dislike it, but it's not as strong as maybe like some of the other episodes this season.
I think they could have gotten rid of the Kira stuff in this episode and just focused on telling the one story, and it would have been better.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Or had Kira give birth, but just easily in a scene. Like, just, oh, Kira gave birth, here's the baby.
or just have Changeling Bashir walk into the room and be like, Kira just had her baby
Yeah.
over there. Car's a dude. And then that's it. That's all we needed to know.
Yeah. They could have condensed that.
The scene I do kind of like, and I wish there had been more of this in the episode, was like between Quark and Odo in the bar right before, like there's sort of this whole tonal shift and the whole urgency for the finale. But I thought that, like, remember that they hated each other climbing up the mountain like 3 episodes ago. It wasn't that long ago.
They hated each other,
right? And now they're here having a drink, kind of bonding, and Odo's. Like, you can see how, like, this whole experience really is changing him, like who he is, right?
And how nervous it makes Quark. I love that.
He's like,
well, yeah, and he also admits that, like, being a solid's not so bad. He's gotten used to it, and he's starting to enjoy different things. And now he's gonna, like, just when he was like starting to kind of chill out and not be such a grumpy grumps, he goes right back to being a changeling because we can't have that. But at the same time,
changeling for the war,
right? He's got that too. I guess I like it at a certain point. It was like, all right, Odo's not really giving me much as far as being a solid. Like, how many more episodes are we going to do about, ooh, this is tasty,
right? Or how many more episodes do we get of, if I was a changeling, I could do this?
right. That's the flip side of the coin. But with Odo, like, it just, we need to learn more about the founders and the Jebediah coming and everything with the Dominion War. I get why that we need to make him a change it again. This episode, okay, it's so long. Like, most episodes are
same length as every other episode, isn't it?
No, I feel like most episodes are 41 or 42 minutes. This one's like 46,
45 and a half. Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, it just kind of, it drags on because there's so many scenes with him playing with the goo, talking to the goo, and I enjoy it or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, oh, and then we get to the Shakar scenes, and it's even worse. It's just like, oh, no, this. Oh, I don't care about
worse than goo.
That is the one thing you got to give Renee. He is he's better talking to goo than Shakar is just on the station at all. Like, he's just not a great character interacting with these people, like, on a personal level. If we're gonna do an episode about Shakar in the old days, and he's a battle veteran and all his story, that's different. But
the badassery of him is never realized. Yeah, like, he's always like, he was so great back when we were killing Cardassians together, and now he's just like Mr. Politician, and you're like, what? Like, who is this guy? Like, I think I preferred Barial.
See, I think what they should have done for Shakar is they should have done a flashback episode and showed us what Kira was like during the occupation, like a real episode of, like, her and the resistance, and, like, literally just, like, that's one thing I wish D69 did a bit more, was, like, do some episodes that were like flashback or like in the past.
Well, they did that in like the first season, remember? Like, there's the or is it in the second season, the episode where we kind of see how Odo and Kira met, like, originally when it was still the occupation. And and I remember when we watched that one, I had never really had seen it for some reason, and I was like, oh, they did this kind of thing. They did flashbacks during, like, there was also that one where it was like the Great Link, or where we saw what Odo did with those 3 Bajorans who were executed as well. But yeah, like, it's there's not a, there could have been more, and sometimes the flashback stuff we did get wasn't as good as what they could have done, and Shakar is like, whatever. Yeah, sure, he's the first minister of Bajor because he was a farmer who stood up against Kai Wynn, and that made him apparently like a super popular guy. Plus, I guess his cred from the resistance.
Right. Plus, he was in those hills and hiding, and he was good at that. And he had a good ragtag group.
Musala province or wherever, or Dakar. I don't know. One of those.
Yeah, one of those black provinces. But, just Shakar, I'm not a big fan of him when he's on the screen. I mean, I just don't really understand.
Duncan Regeer? Canada's own Duncan Regeer.
Beverly.
He was Ronan. He was also in the show Zorro. If you remember, it was a show like in the 90s. It was Zorro. and he was Zorro.
He was Zorro.
Yeah,
Isn't Zorro supposed to be Spanish?
Yes.
that's how good of an actor he is.
Right.
He was like Diego de la Cruz or something in that show. But he was a very English Zorro. It was like it was in Los Angeles, but it was still part of Mexico. It was really good. It was like Batman, but with a horse.
Right. What did you think about his line in the episode where he says to O'Brien, next time you're my girlfriend has a baby, you have a baby, leave my girlfriend out of it.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Dickish.
He sounded like a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. He sounds like a 16-year-old. Like, geez, why do you have to make this so inconvenient for me?
Yeah, it was definitely Miles's idea to have his baby implanted into Kira and instead of his wife.
And he just takes it. Like, he just takes it and walks away. And puts his hand on the wall and goes, oh, I guess he's right. But I mean, it's like, oh no. O'Brien.
He's already just like fucking Shakar.
He's like fucking Shakar. Like, that's literally what he does. He goes up to the wall and goes, oh. And it's just like he doesn't even want he doesn't want to dignify him with a response or get mad at him. He's just like, not even worth it.
He should have looked at him and been like, the next time one of my babies is born, you can fuck right off.
Yeah. Why weren't you here for the signing of that Federation thing? When they
go back to your damn candle.
Go back to your damn candle. It's ruined our family for generations.
Run off with Sabar.
That's what I said when we were watching it. And the two of them were just staring at each other in the hall after she kicked them out. And I'm like, is he looking at him going, are you ghost fucker?
I know you from
somewhere.
And even like there's even at the end here where they're like saying goodbye. It's just like this such like a nothing like
it's awful.
It's awful.
Yeah. They had no chemistry.
None. And like
it's like they're both staring at each other like, yep, I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know, like what. Yeah, I wonder if there's anything in fun facts about just the wasted potential of Shakar and the fact that it was just a waste of time.
It was a complete waste of time. It was like something they thought about doing earlier. It brought him onto the show and then went, oh crap, we have nothing for this guy,
And like it's just like we have to keep Odo in the friend zone until season 7. That's our plan here, and then it's all gonna come together.
I don't think they knew they were gonna do the Odo thing until like fans started saying like, kind of like at first, and then they started writing it in that he was but I think it was more like because they had so many scenes together in season 1 that's why that kind of got shipped.
I always thought that exactly where they were going with it. For me, it was almost like a Ross and Rachel story where it was like Ross is pining after Rachel in the first season of Friends, right? And Rachel has no idea, but the rest of the cast does, right? Or the rest of the friends do. And then she finds out, and then they get together, right? And then they break up. But it's kind of like it's almost like Niles and what's her name? Daphne and Frasier as well. They were doing a lot of this in the 90s, in different shows.
That's true. They were kind of like, like if you want to get the love of your life, be sad about it.
Be sad about it until she eventually feels so sorry for you that she'll have a relationship with you. That's kind of like what they were maybe pushing.
That's what girls are attracted to: puppy dog eyes and silence.
Sad. Yeah, just like I'll just wait on here on your stoop until you throw me a bone, and then it's whatever, whatever will go from there.
That's how you're gonna get it.
Yeah, I guess like it's just.
I don't think so.
It's the John Cusack effect,
right? What is that from? Like Grosse Point Blank or whatever?
No, what? It's from a bunch of movies.
Every movie John Cusack's in. Say anything.
Yeah.
Thing over his head in the rain.
Right. Yeah, that's probably it. This episode, just to me, it's what Dave said at the beginning. It definitely, we're all parents, one form or another, and I definitely think there's a lot of themes I like in this episode. But the overall, episode entertainment wise, for me, I just don't know if it has the same it doesn't grab me the way a lot of these episodes I know are coming up are going to.
I don't even really understand I don't even really understand the title. Like, why the Begotten?
Okay, well, that's a good.
Let's go to fun facts. I think we need fun facts, Jeff. Double F us.
Okay, I'm bringing it up.
Double F us.
Do it harder.
Gotta do it harder.
You gotta do it harder.
You're due for a trans.
Oh, that's not it.
You gotta do it harder.
I love the way he says harder. He's like harder.
Harder.
Harder it is.
Just play O'Brien clips all day.
Give it a chance.
Yeah, him isolated is hilarious.
Have you any idea how bored I used to get sitting in the transporter room waiting for something to break down?
Sitting.
I murdered him.
Murdered.
Oh, that is not how you say murdered.
Months.
Well,
Months.
I didn't know it Irish. The O's are U's. So if it's months,
Sean Aloysius O'Brien.
Shouldn't it be O'Brien?
O'Brien.
Yeah.
Where is that one? I got it here somewhere. Here it is.
I am a direct descendant of King Brian Boru.
Okay.
He was a Union man.
He was a Union man. Okay. All right. I have some fun facts for you. Miles O'Brien mentions not being able to witness Keiko give birth to Molly, which Ashley mentioned in the Next Gen episode Disaster from 1991. In that episode, O'Brien was stuck on the bridge of the Enterprise following a ship-wide failure, and Keiko, along with Worf, who ultimately delivered Molly, was injured in 10 forward, with no way for the two of them to communicate.
I loved my parents.
Oh, that's a great episode. Jadzia Dax does not appear in this episode, which I did notice. I was like, oh, she's not in an episode. Which, you know why she's not in the episode? There's really barely any Avery Brooks. And I find, like, if it's not Cisco and
Worf's
her,
not really in it either.
Right, those three characters, and those are like the command characters, so they're off doing something else, which makes sense, kind of. Okay, so the production experimented with several different substances to depict the infant changeling. They ended up using a few different mixtures depending on what the scene called for, including a gelatin solution and a type of plastic called hot melt vinyl.
Yeah, it kind of works and it kind of doesn't for me in the episode. Like it's actually better, I think, when the CGI version comes along versus like the him just playing with goo,
him just pouring it into different shapes.
Yeah, it's a little weird. You know, he's like, this is a pyramid. Oh, this is a cube, right angle. So weird. You know, it's just like, here's one. Like, you know, it's just, look, it's mysterious shapes.
It looks disgusting. Like, it looks like vomit. That's what he's playing with.
He's just playing with vomit and clear containers.
Yeah. Gelatin vomit. And it's just like so unappealing. Yeah. There's so many things to say and not enough time. Okay. Duncan Regrier, who plays Shakar, also played the role of Ronan in Sub Rosa in The Next Generation. Beverly. I'm Ghostfucker.
Yes. Where's my candle?
Beverly.
Quark says, the center cannot hold, which is a line from the poem The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats. The poem is essentially about the apocalypse.
What? I didn't pick up on it. Why would Quark say that?
I don't know. Maybe
he says it when Odo's freaking him out by being happy.
Oh, he thinks it's like this is the end of times.
Yeah,
Odo's happy. This can't be right. Okay.
Yeah. Something's off in the universe. Which maybe he's right. There's a 47 reference in this episode. Dave, did you pick up on it?
No.
It is the shuttlecraft number heading back to Bajor for Shakar, 4709.
Like it's like I gotta go. I can't. Now that you've given birth, he says to her like you have leave coming. You could come to Bajor. I think that's often like their issue. They're like a long distance relationship, and he's like, why don't you just come to the planet where we're from instead of spending all your time out here?
And she's like, but you're there, so no.
Not gonna happen. I like it up here on the station where I have very important Bajoran administration duties to attend to, like telling O'Brien to fix stuff or talking to Odo with the criminal activities report.
Okay. After this episode, Keiko O'Brien would only be seen twice more in Time's Orphan. I believe that's the next season, and then in the final episode, What You Leave Behind.
Really? That's
it.
2 more appearances. That's it, and really 1 when you think about it.
Like as much as like we like to rag on her, or at least I do. I don't hate Keiko. I like that she's there. She's there to make Miles suffer.
Miles.
Yeah.
Miles.
Oh my
Edward O'Brien.
No, she's great. She's definitely needed for the O'Brien character, and so
there's some great scenes with them.
Miles. Yeah. Maybe you should go with her.
What?
What?
Right, Miles?
Absolutely.
Okay. The fact that Odo's status as a solid was not permanent was hinted in Things Past when Bashir reveals that Odo still has morphogenetic enzymes in his system.
Yes.
Kira Nerys gives birth to Kira Yoshi O'Brien in this episode, though his name is not mentioned until the next episode for the uniform. So they kind of named him after Kira.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she was the surrogate.
Mora Paul makes his second and last on-screen appearance. He was previously seen in The Alternate. The episode also features the final appearance of the series of First Minister Shakar Idan. As such, this episode marks the final Star Trek appearance of both actors James Sloylan, who played Mora, and Duncan Regeer, Shakar.
It's not a great send-off.
No.
Maybe more for Mora.
Better for Mora. Yeah.
Yeah, at least he put in a good performance.
Yeah. This was like a waste of Duncan Regeer's time. Like, why'd they even bring, like, well, you call me in for this?
2 episodes from now, in Purgatory's Shadow, it is revealed Bashir has been abducted and replaced by a changeling impersonator. Here, the Bashir changeling understandably tries to save the life of the sick baby changeling. The impersonator also witnesses Odo regaining his shape-shifting abilities and would have immediately reported this to the founders. All of this is, however, hidden, as the producers did not want to reveal Bashir's situation to viewers at this time. Do you think they should have? That's a good question. Do you think they should? Like today, they definitely would have.
There would be more of a hint now, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a really great reveal, I think, in Purgatory Shadow when they bring like the prisoner out and then it's Bashir and you're like, oh damn it, so it would have taken away from that, so I kind of do like that. But because there's this, especially this whole changeling thing happening right in front of it, it's on the rewatch, it's like, oh wow,
Yeah, and but you just, when he's trying to save the life of the thing or of the baby, you just like, oh well, he's a doctor, and so
But it would have been more emotional, and the death of the baby would have had more of an impact, I would think.
You would think, but he doesn't show it. Okay, and that's it for the fun facts. Although I do want to look up why this episode is called The Begotten. So
yeah, that was what I was like. Why was why we asked for the fun facts in the first place? The double F. We didn't get
Begotten is typically of a man, sometimes of a man and woman, who bring a child into existence by the process of reproduction. So to beget. So that is why 2 people are bringing babies into the world. Odo.
Wait, but where does like the term come from?
Well, that's 2 people.
English language.
Yeah.
The English language.
Like Merriam-Webster or, one of those.
So when you say the begotten, you're talking about 2 people who are bringing babies into the world.
Typically of a man, sometimes of a man and a woman, who bring a child into existence by the process of reproduction.
What other process would there be?
There's nothing to figure out, Dave. It's just the definition of a word.
It's very confusing to me. I'm finding this word. It's not used very much.
It means to give rise to or bring about. To
Begotten.
The begotten.
The begotten.
It's biblical.
Is it biblical?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's rate it. We need more of a zoom in here. Okay. Jeff, the Begotten.
I'm like a 3.
It's pretty low. I was going to go 6.5. That's Ashley.
8.
8 from Ashley.
7. I really like the Mora and Odo stuff.
God. You guys like it way more than me.
And you're pretty low on it, Jeff, for the Deep Space Nine enthusiast that you claim to be.
Well, I don't like every episode.
No.
I gave one a 0. This is my favorite show.
Right. But this has a 7.8 on IMDb, which indicates that the audience thinks quite highly in general of this episode.
So I am correct.
So Ashley is correct.
I just as a television show, this is not an episode I'm going to go back and go, oh, what a great episode. I got to watch this one. You know what I mean? Like we already said what it was last week. It's Rene Auberjonois playing with a prop for 35 minutes
and talking to
It's
Dr. Mora.
It's okay. It's just I enjoy it, but not a lot.
What about the director, Jeff? Jesus Salvadoro Trevino.
Does he do any more episodes?
I don't think so.
This
makes sense.
I know he did do Sons and Daughters and The Reckoning,
which is all like a lot of emotional kind of parent-child stuff.
Yeah.
And he did a bunch of Voyager episodes too.
Right. 5,
including Fair Trade, Day of Honor, Concerning Flight, Retrospect, and Vis-a-Vis. Anyway, this is a Rene Echevarria script. Couldn't tell.
Yeah. It's just not for me. It's not for me.
But Jeff, you know what comes after this?
Is Javert, right? This next episode?
Yeah, it's where it's coming.
For the uniform.
You betrayed your uniform.
Your uniform. I love how he has a little bit of gravel in his voice.
Yeah, he's just like in hatred.
He
beat me. He's just a man, and he can't take it.
Though you did put too much tarragon in the stuffing. My lucky loony.
Do you know what we haven't really had in an episode in a while is Garrick?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we saw Garrick was Things Past, which was about 4 or 5 episodes ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a minute.
Yeah. I always love, but he'll be in a lot of the episodes that are coming up. He's heavily featured, and then they'll start putting Garrick into more and more, like as they go. Like Garrick almost becomes like a full-time cast member.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely more of a cast member than Jake.
But not up to this point in the show.
No, Jake becomes more too.
I would say that even up to this point in the show, I think Garrick's been in more stuff.
I don't think Garrick's been in more episodes than Jake.
Jake was in more episodes.
But Garrick is in all the better episodes.
Yeah.
That's maybe he just stands out more, and that's what it is.
Garrick makes the episodes better, but there's actually not as much Garrick as I almost remember, because I think he's so heavily featured down the line in the war, especially I have more. It seems like he was around more, but there's still a lot to come. There's still a lot of episodes for us to go through.
Let me read a review that's on the website here, and I think it kind of is along the sentiments that you three have all portrayed tonight. Not me, but I understand. I was distracted by the birthing of the O'Brien baby. We've been waiting forever, and the whole thing seems sort of tiresome. I gave this a 10 strictly for the efforts of Odo to take a shapeshifter and introduce him to the world. We get a real emotional portrayal and a final reconciliation. Dr. Mora is a really interesting character, and the interactions between the two is harsh and poignant. The greatest thing, however, is the ending, which I will not spoil. Suffice to say, I'm thrilled with what takes place. I see it doesn't do much for me. The ending, he already was a changeling, so it's not to me that like amazing when he turns back into one. I'm like, okay, great.
Especially since when he's the hawk, and then when he rematerializes or whatever, he looked like he gooed in his pants.
Yeah,
like
right.
it.
Oh, Amanda had something to say about that scene that nobody's brought up. When he turns first into the hawk, his clothes fall to the ground.
Right.
And then he reappears, and Amanda goes, "Ooh!" Like she sees the goo, and she's like, "Ooh, is he going to be naked?" And then he's wearing the clothes, and she goes, "Well, that's stupid."
No,
No,
because when he's a solid, he has to wear physical clothes. But when he's a changeling, he creates his own clothes.
He creates them, but they're not part of him.
They are part of him.
They're goo, but they just look like a uniform. Because when he decides to put the belt on, because Kira says, "Oh, I like the belt," it just appears because he builds it out of his goo.
Right, but
Correct.
that
That's
goo.
why when he became a solid, and he had to wear a physical uniform, he complained about the itchiness.
Right. No, I knew that, but when he turns into the goo, so I understand what you're saying. So when he turns into the goo first here, the uniform drops, and then when he reappears, it's a goo uniform.
Yes.
Yeah. Correct. Yes, he can do all kinds. It's like he never. It's like how many months I guess has gone by since he was, or how much time has passed?
I don't know. A while, at least since the end of season 4, right?
The end of season 4 is when this happened, right? So just if I look here on our
this is episode 12.
Okay, so
let's
that
say
was okay.
I don't know.
About 7 more months.
7 more months.
Was Kira pregnant at that point?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
When did this happen with Kira?
I think last season?
Yeah. Because by this point, she had already given birth in real life.
Because there was Sons of Moog, and there was the one where Our Time, Shattered Mirror, The Muse, For the Cause, To the Death.
I don't think he was solid for very long. Like less than a year.
Less than a year for sure. Like okay, because when did Eddington do the portrayal? Right.
Right. Was that into the death?
Oh, I should figure that out.
Or for the cause? Is that for the cause?
I think it's For the Cause, right? And I think that they'll tell us next week that was like 8 months ago, right? That happened with Eddington, and that's before. So it's maybe like 6-7 months for Odo as a solid total.
7 months.
7 months.
Yeah, that's probably an eternity to somebody that's never been that before. Yeah.
Well, but this is what I always wonder too, because and I know Ashley is probably going to disagree with me, but we'll see. When he gets the changeling absorbed into him, the baby changeling, to me, I think he should have now been able to change into solids and humanoid forms more easily, having been permanently that form for 6 or 7 months. I think that he should have actually been a much better changeling as a result of it.
Why?
Because because of the reasons I just said.
So not being a changeling would make him a better changeling? That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, how did the founders do this? How did they turn him into a human for permanently like this, right? And Mora even says it in the episode.
Well, they shaved him as nude as a baby.
Well, yeah.
Right. They made him a baby seal.
I think it's as plausible. It's like, why did they give Odo this limitation, right? That he's not very good at faces and impersonating other solids.
Because he doesn't hang out in the link, it seems like. That's how I always took it.
You also have to remember, and it shows in this episode, that Odo is young.
Right.
Odo is like an adolescent.
Which is weird because
he's an old grumpy old man.
He's a grumpy old man, yeah.
Guy, yeah.
But he is an adolescent. He is not, and he's never been part of the link in a meaningful way. So he's not a good change.
But if he can turn into a bird, he can turn into a person. It doesn't make sense.
No, you're right. That does not make any sense. But
and he also when he becomes a human, he's like, no, let me keep my old look. which is really stupid as well when you think about it. Like but they never wanted to show Renee Auberjonois' real face for Odo.
Well, I think it was for continuity, but then like they changed the uniforms a bunch of times in this series, and so there was no continuity. Even like Avery Brooks's look changes, and obviously Jake gets older, and there's a lot of things changing as you're going.
Well, I think they didn't change his face when he became a human. Like they didn't change his face because they knew they were going to bring him back as a changeling, so they don't want to have him have two different faces. Like it is for continuity for sure. But then they do show him being a better changeling in that episode where they were duplicated. Were they duplicated in that episode?
When the one you're talking about, Children of Time or whatever. Yeah, because 200 years on that planet on Gaia had made him a better shapeshifter. Yes,
right.
He gets better ears.
And they show his face in that one. He's not the same Odo.
Yeah,
right. Yes. So I just like the whole thing of like, how are they able to turn him into a permanent human? How does that work? Because his species has to regenerate, right? And then the fact that he's able to absorb this dying baby changeling into his skin, then therefore he's like all that biomatter. He had blood. He had a circulatory system. He had a heart. Where did it go? It just changed back into a changeling. So that indicates to me he was always a changeling. They just somehow like froze him.
Froze his code.
Why they don't say that they changed him into a human. They say that they changed him into a solid.
Right.
But he reads as a human.
Well, they're masters of genetics too.
Remember? Everyone eats and stuff on the, not just humans.
No, I think what they did is like, and she says this in one episode or whatever, where it's like, when you turn into a rock, you are a rock when you're a changeling or whatever. Yeah. So it's the same thing. Like they turned him into a human and then they froze his code so he couldn't change out of it.
It's like the biology of changelings and how they work and is all kind of nebulous. It's kind of just like, science fiction.
I kind of understand it. Like it's like that's how I took it. Is basically they turned, like they have more power over his genetics than he does
when he changes shape. Like if you think about like the T-1000, right? And and John Connor asked the Terminator 2, like, or the T-800, like, well, why doesn't he just turn himself into like a pack of cigarettes? He goes, no, only if things of equal size you can turn it into, but not Odo. Odo can turn into a much smaller bird mass wise. So where does that mass go when he shapeshifts?
Well, he's goo, so it's like kind of like, it's not a solid thing.
But they keep talking about this baby changeling needs to grow in size. Like if you had grown like this much, I'm like, okay, but then once you're a bigger changeling and you turn into something small, where does that go?
They could like change the size of like the atoms or whatever it is that's in their goo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their goo is a strange thing. Yeah, kind of like a fish.
I got goo questions here.
The goo is fascinating. I mean, I think it's just basically like we have CGI. We have no idea how to use it yet, so we're gonna make everything goo.
Yeah,
we can do this effect where we can make something look like this kind of like flowy golden look or whatever, and then you have to suspend disbelief. I get it, but like it's just how it all works and how they were able to do this to him, because he's a main character and this was kind of a punishment, and it's almost like, can you solve this on your own is always what I kind of come back to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Odo is not as interesting of a character as like a Data or a Spock, or like he's the oddball character of the D9 cast, and you just don't really get as much explanation about the changelings. They're very condescending. They're very like, we're better than you, and so like they don't allow for a lot of episodes, I find, and like Odo doesn't want anything to do with them, so he's kind of, we don't really get to know a lot about Odo and where he comes from and who he is, and like there's episodes where they cover it, but it's like at the end of the day he has like an estranged relationship with
he doesn't like people, right? Because like compared to like Spock had a bit of that, but you're right. I don't think that Odo as that character for Deep Space Nine worked as well as Data and Spock did, because they were like sort of these standout, different sort of metaphor around humanity. And I guess in Voyager, well,
it's the Doctor for the first part, and then it becomes Seven.
It becomes Seven. They kind of like trade that off, because Odo's just a grumpy guy.
Make sure everyone knows they can't just drop by your quarters to say hello. If someone does, whatever happens, don't make them feel welcome.
Of course not. That would only invite subsequent visits.
Precisely.
He is so much funnier on DS9 than he is on TNG. On TNG, he's like way more serious a lot of the time.
He's always got the wrong idea on Next Generation.
Yeah.
Like, I love that the Shaxx character on Lower Decks is kind of like just a parody of him, where he's like, we're being attacked. I recommend we detonate the war core. She's like, that's too much. That's too much.
Scale it back a little bit.
Scale it back.
Yeah, he always has he's always like rookie mistakes. He's like, if he was captain, and then they do make him like a commander or captain and stuff, and you're like, oh, he's gotten much better. He's not jumping to drastic things like fire on an unarmed vessel,
starting a war for no reason.
Right.
Yeah, they should be hunted down and killed like those Maquis.
Right. Yeah, and he'd do it. Okay. I think that's it for this episode. Join us next week when we cover For the Uniform. It's catch up on your Les Mis.
Yeah, Javert coming your way.
Javert coming your way. It'll be a good one. We'll hopefully have a Jaemeel, maybe a Devin back. But we also have some things to plug around here. And Dave, tell us what we have on here, Live Long a Podcast, and then Super Mario Bros. Podcasting, and then Trivia Debates, and then all our friends stuff.
Yeah, well, Jeff, did you know on Monday nights we talk about Star Trek Enterprise, and last night Kevin gave the episode a 9.
And they're not gonna hold me down no more. No, they're not gonna change my mind.
He's changing his mind. He's liking Enterprise.
One episode, Dave. One episode.
That sounds like Kevin. You're not going to change my mind.
And it took. They had to bring in Ethan Phillips, Jeffrey Combs, Clint Howard, and Archer had to be way less annoying than usual. And it was a bunch of Ferengi, but they can do it. So check that out. Enterprise at 8 every Monday night, where we talk about the next episode. We just talked about acquisition, and next week's episode is actually it's called what is it called again? Sorry, I should know that more quickly. I
already forget.
It's called Oasis, and it features Rene Auberjonois. Again, not in a completely different character. He just appears on Enterprise. And we're supposed to not think he's Odo. We're supposed to go, no, it's a new. Rene Auberjonois, you're such an actor. I can't recognize you.
Kind of like Brent Spiner on this week's episode of Picard, where it's like he's back, and it's
worse than that. I think that
it's just all the time with Brent Spiner. It's just like, I don't like playing Data. Let me play this annoying smarmy doctor.
Like Lore and all of those Soongs, they're all one note to me. They're all just like annoying.
I guess. You have a great character, and he's like hates playing it. He's like no more, never again. It's like,
he wants to play Brent Spiner, basically. Most is how I always read it, but that's a Picard conversation. But yeah, and speaking of which, on Thursdays we talk about Star Trek Picard. Is there in the second season right now? Big season 3 announcement today, Jeff. It is First Contact Day. We haven't even mentioned that. It is April 5th, but they're bringing back Riker. They're bringing back Worf. They're bringing back the Maul, Troy. Crusher, LaForge, they're all being brought back for the season 3 of Star Trek Picard, and I guess Rios and those guys are going to be there too. Probably, I don't know how they're going. They're
going to do a third season.
Yeah, they're filming it right now.
Okay.
Wow. So, Jeff, are you liking this season of Star Trek Picard?
I am, but there's certain things I don't like about, like, how long are we staying in like the present day? Like, I do like the Borg Queen stuff. I think that's pretty cool. Rios,
speaking of which, the new Borg Queen, Annie Wershing, she's going to be on that episode of Enterprise we're watching on Monday.
So it's not the lady from the movies or Voyager.
No,
it's a new actor.
Right. So she's the third Borg Queen.
Correct.
She's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think she's the best so far. I think she's kind of changing the role. I think that reinventing it in some ways, more sinister, more evil. And that's hard to top because the previous two were pretty bad.
And smarter, definitely like more resourceful.
Yes. And more compelling, I think, too, like more relatable than the original versions, which were just malevolent and just evil, and there was no. I think that there's maybe a bit more sympathy, because that's what you want in a villain. You want to have a certain level of sympathy for a villain, or at least understanding from the motivations.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. What else?
That's not all, Jeff. On this Saturday night, guess what? It is Star Trek Radio Theater night. We are doing our 3rd episode. By the way, Rich texted me today. He's like, Mom's birthday on Saturday, April 9th. And I was like, well, we're doing a radio theater. He was like, you can leave after dinner.
I just realized I worked that night.
You worked that night?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Well, check it out on Saturday night, April 9th, 9:30 p.m.
I'm going to have to get a replacement Jody LaForge.
We'll figure something out. So you're not coming to the birthday party?
Nope.
Because I was like, can we do it? Because Mom's birthday is actually Friday. And I was like, can we do this Friday? No, Mom's not available Friday. What about Sunday? No, Mom's not available Sunday. I was like, why? Dang it. All right. So check that out. Star Trek Radio Theater. We're doing Darmok.
Doing Darmok. Check it out.
If it comes together, we might be having some issues. As well as we have 2 other channels. One's called Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, where we cover all kinds of shows and movies that are not related to Star Trek. Right now, we're doing Survivor season 42 with Jeff Probst, and then also Big Brother Canada 10. We're in the depths of that right now. So if you want to hear about our thoughts on those 2 shows, check that out.
To get them back.
To get them back.
To get back at them.
Right.
I always get it wrong. It's to get back
at them. And apparently tomorrow night it's going to be like, to get revenge on Betty. And so, yeah, you want to hear us talk about that. Also, Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, which we talked about Hawkeye. Now they're getting started on Moon Knight. And we're going to be talking about that once all those episodes air. That's airing every Wednesday right now on Disney Plus, or I guess streaming is the correct term. And what else? We have, we'll be talking about Ozark pretty soon, Jeff, too. That's got their last 7 episodes coming up in a few weeks. And we're going to be talking about that when those drop and the conclusion of that story. And then Trivial Debates is a monthly show. We argue about movies, TV, sports, and like a game show format. There's a host, 3 contestants. We argue about stuff. Most recently, we had Max Duda hosting, purportedly the worst host in history. Is consensus. But if you want to hear Jaemeel Robinson, Jody Simpson, and Morph Son of Moog from this very podcast, Jeff, compete. That happened on March 27, 2022, and you can find that on our channel. Over there on Trivial Debates, as well as our friends podcasts. We got the Hellbound podcast with Michael Chan and Alex Blackburn every Wednesday. Well, we don't, but they do. They have it, and you can listen to it. Also, you can listen to Eamon Mader's podcast under his alias Sam Jerka. Let's talk about fighting games, which is all about fighting games like Mega Man and Baiku and Dragon Ball Z and Street Fighter. And then also you should check out, lastly, Devin Skellhorn's podcast. He's often with us here on D Space 9 at 9ish, not tonight, but he's got 2 podcasts. One called Locutors of Trek, where that's their Star Trek theme channel. He does with his friend Dave, and they do trivia, they do writers' room pitches, they do different debate sessions. You should definitely check out their podcasts, talking about the different aspects of Star Trek. And his other podcast is with Andre, where they talk about X-Men, the animated series. It's called X-Rated, and they go through each episode, much like this podcast, which you should definitely check out. I've been on that a couple of times. Talk about X-Men. Anyway.
Okay. Is that it?
I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for all of the great plugs. Join us next week. Thank you to my brother Dave, the Bajoran workers, Kevin, Ashley, Millard. And we'll see you next time around 9ish.
All right.
You got to do it harder.